Hi and welcome to Scope Month. My name is Daniel Bogdanoff and it is Friday, March 31st, and it's a little bittersweet here in Colorado Springs because we have had such a blast sharing Scope Month with you, but today is the last day except for the Test to Impress contest. So we're happy that we had such a good time, but we're also a little sad that it's over. I know you guys are hoping to win the last set of scopes, so we're going to give away 2 of the 4000X series scopes and 5 of the 1000X series scopes. And for those of you who are tuning in live, we're going to extend. I know the deadline cutoff was 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which was a couple minutes ago. We're going to extend until I actually do the drawing, and that will be the official cutoff for the Test to Impress contest. So if you haven't entered yet and you're watching live, you can still get one more entry in for your chance to win a new oscilloscope. Also, we're a little surprised no one has found the Daniel cutout this week. So the first 3 weeks, you guys found them in the first, before Tuesday at midnight. Someone posted an address earlier in this week, so call your friends up in Paris and see if they can run over, get a snapshot. If you get the snapshot of the cutout by Friday today at midnight Mountain Standard Time, then we will still give away 2 more 1000X series scopes. And if you find the cutout by Saturday at midnight, we'll give away 1 more 1000X series scopes. And we'll do those either after the fact, and we'll draw them and announce the winners either on my Twitter page or our Facebook page, or we may or may not do those as part of the Test to Impress winners announcement video. So for the Test to Impress contest, you have until later today to get your video entry in. So if you didn't want to leave your new scope up to chance and you're still hoping to get one or win one, you can enter the Test to Impress contest, submit a 3-minute video. I don't care so much about production quality. We really want to hear why you think you should be the one who gets the scope. And when I say we, I mean the panel of judges. So instead of doing social voting like we did last year, the panel will have a panel who will make a decision for who wins those scopes. So we're giving away a grand prize, 6 gigahertz 6000X series scopes and 2 MSOX 3034T series oscilloscopes. So some pretty nice scopes. The panel who's deciding who wins those is myself, Dave Jones from the EEV blog, Chris Kamel from Contextual Electronics and the Amp Hour podcast, which you should check out that podcast. It's a great podcast. And Mehdi Sadagar from the Electro Boom channel. So we're really excited to have this pretty much an all-star panel coming together to decide who in the community should get those scopes. Also, every day I've been doing a scope tip as part of Scope Month and these daily videos. So if you're just now tuning in, you can check out some of the other previous videos and see some of the scope tips. And if you are really enjoying those scope tips, you should subscribe to our channel because we're going to continue to have videos over time. So yesterday I talked a little bit about probe attenuation, and I got some comments wanting me to expound on that a little more. So there's a couple things that I didn't mention yesterday. I wasn't sure how deep we wanted to go on that, but since we got some comments, I'll talk a little more about that. I mentioned yesterday that 1-to-1 gives you lower noise measurements, and 10-to-1 or higher attenuation ratios gives you more influence of the scope noise on your measurements. So by going to 1-to-1, you're able to make a lower noise measurement, but there are some caveats in 1-to-1 that you should be aware of. So if you look at this probe, let's see if, I don't know if this is on camera. I'm going to lose my thing there. This probe has a switchable 1-to-1, 10-to-1 attenuation probe. So you can flip that switch, and we were talking about how do you know, there's my scope back. How do you know which one to use? So noise is one consideration, but 1-to-1 is generally for more DC style measurements because as soon as you switch into 1-to-1 mode, you're going to lose a lot of your bandwidth. So this probe specifically is pretty on par with other, I actually don't know about other 1-to-1 probes, but generally they're much lower bandwidth. So this probe it doesn't say on it, this is one of the 200 megahertz probes. When you switch it into 1-to-1 mode, you actually only get 6 megahertz of bandwidth on the scope. So that's good because you can filter out a lot of higher frequency noise on your measurements. But if you're trying to make a really high speed measurement, using 1-to-1 is maybe not the best choice because you lose some of that bandwidth. You won't get as fast of an edge, and you may miss some of those higher bandwidth characteristics. The other thing to be aware of in 1-to-1 mode, and this is generally true, but it's not universally true because there's some active probes that don't deal with this, but the capacitive and inductive loading on your system is different between 10-to-1 and 1-to-1. So the higher your attenuation ratio, generally the less loading your system, your scope and your measurement system is going to put on the device. So Jae-Young had a blog post a couple weeks ago about how he sees a lot of people who have an oscillator on their circuit and they go to probe the oscillator, and then as soon as they probe it, maybe they're not probing it in the best possible way. As soon as they probe it, it kills their oscillator because of the loading from the scope. Because anytime you connect to your device, you're going to add some impedance into your system, and that may or may not have an effect on resonant characteristics of your system. So 1-to-1 is going to generally have a little higher loading than 10-to-1 mode or other probes. If you're concerned about loading, you really should be using an active probe. Because we run some active electronics in the probe itself on active probes, you're able to reduce the loading that it has on this on your system and have less of an impact on the device. Another thing you can do if you're curious how much loading is impacting your device, you can take 2 identical probes. So if you have 2 passive probes and you just want to play around and see, does loading have any effect on my circuit, you can plug one. So you can plug one probe into your device and see what the signal looks like, save it off as a reference waveform or a screenshot, and then take a second identical probe and plug it into the exact same place and see how your signal changes. So by double probing, you can extrapolate back to see how much that original loading how much of an effect that original loading is having on your system. So that is, if you want to learn more about probes, you can go to keysight.com/find/probes, and there should be a ton of app notes and application-specific stuff if you're making very specific types of measurements. With probes, we have a lot of information out there. And on this channel, we're also going to have in the future some more probing information throughout the next year. We have some great plans there for probing. So I'd encourage you to stick around after Scope Month and wait to see more of those probing tips. So you'll see Ali and Jae-Young again with some of that information. What else did I want to talk about? So one of the things, let's dig into the scope here. Actually, let's pop over to my PC. Some of you probably saw this video that Dave Jones posted recently. I think it was earlier this week, 983, a shocking oscilloscope problem. I'm going to write a blog on this next week, and that'll be on the Keysight Oscilloscopes blog probably next Wednesday. I was working on that last night, and I'll work on it this weekend. I want to talk a little bit in that blog post. I'll talk a little bit about the piezoelectric effect and why that happens and how you manage that in your systems. But one of the things that I saw Dave doing in his videos that kind of drove me crazy a little bit. So I'm going to hit default setup on the scope here. I'm going to disconnect from this. And one of the things that Dave was showing off is if you hit the scope, you can see some characteristics. If you tap a probe, you also potentially will see some of this piezoelectric stuff going on. And if you hit let me set my trigger level here. One of the things that Dave was doing is hitting single and then tapping and waiting for it to go. Let's zoom out a little bit. He'd hit single, he'd tap it, then he'd hit single again and tap it. And if you're doing this type of measurement where it's single shot, low speed type of measurements, you don't actually have to use the single button. You can use the single button because if you use the single button, you're going to get a deeper capture. So the stop button, when you hit stop, is just going to capture the signal as displayed on the screen already. If you hit single, then you're going to reacquire data, wait for another trigger. So when I hit signal, you notice there's no data on the screen until I tap the probe and get another signal. So there's a 2-minute guru on that. But one of the things that you can do is because if I'm in normal run mode and I'm tapping, my signal shows up, but it's gone immediately. I want to switch my triggering into, I think my quick action button is already acquired for that, but might have cleared on my default setup. If you go into your mode coupling, you can switch into normal mode. If I can get normal mode there. And now it's only going to display signals on valid triggers. So you don't actually have to, you can stay in run mode and keep getting continuous signals over time instead of hitting single, talking about it, hitting single again. So Dave, if you're watching, check out run mode with the acquisition mode. I'd also, Dave's channel is great, and I have the utmost respect for him as an engineer, but watching that video, I thought I would talk about that today because you don't have to hit single every time if you just are making these types of measurements. Just switch into normal mode. So that's it for the scope tip for today. There's one more thing I wanted to show off kind of as a special, so I'm going to get this scope out of the way, and I'm going to pull up a 6000X, so you can win one of these as part of the Test to Impress contest. We have some new firmware coming out. Let me make sure that's kind of close enough in focus there. We have some new firmware coming out in the next few months, and we haven't announced it yet, so it's kind of a sneak peek at the new firmware we have coming. There's a couple things that I'm really excited about that are part of this firmware for the 3000T, 4000, and 6000, is we added markers for the grid lines. So this may seem like a simple thing, and we have this on all the Infinium scopes, and it's been more and more common in scopes. We're adding that in to our 3000T, 4000, and 6000 series scopes. So instead of trying to add up divisions and do some math on in your head, you should be able to just look at the screen and see what's my time setting, what's my vertical setting. The other thing we've added is some new measurements. So I'm going to scroll down. We have all our normal measurements. There's a number of measurements there. We've added some FFT measurements. So we're adding, and this is all coming out in the next few months. I don't have a specific date yet, but stick around, find out. A channel power measurement, an occupied bandwidth measurement, an adjacent power ratio measurement, and a total harmonic, a THD measurement. So all of those measurements are going to be coming out for the 3000T, 4000, and 6000 in the next firmware release. So those of you who have those scopes, I hope you're on the edge of your seats for those, because I think those are really going to help the usability of those scopes. So that is kind of a triple scope tip for the day. It's live stream, so I thought we'd do something a little extra special. I couldn't quite get everything in the scope month, so we're going to keep having videos over time on this YouTube channel, because there's a lot of information we want to get you guys better at using scopes. Transitioning away from the scope tip, I want to talk a little bit about the team here, and thank the team here, because I've been here on camera every day, but there's been an entire team behind Scope Month making it happen. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to that team. I ran around yesterday with a quick camera to see who was around. A couple people were out sick, so there's going to be stills. So Melissa, you probably know from the Infinium scopes. Thanks for your help. Josh, thank you so much for Winter Logistics. You want an email from him. Ali has helped with editing. If you like outtakes, thanks Ali. Jay Young has really helped out with the probe tips. Erin, check out her Instagram. Our Instagram channel, she's been working on that. Johnny is just all things scopes and Declaration of Independence. Allison hates being on camera. Sorry, Allison. All things Scope Month. Hoffman, you've seen. Paul helps. He's kind of our legal liaison. So Boone, sampling scopes and the blog. Check him out. Kenzie was out yesterday, our Marcron specialist. And then, of course, Robert, the #1 boss. I'm not saying that just because it's an obligation, but that is really true. And I'm tripping over my cables here, so I'm going to dance out of this cable. I'm just going to unplug my computer. So thank you so much to the entire team for all of, I don't know what I'm hooked on. Thank you so much to you get an outtake today too, who knew? Thank you so much to the entire team for all of your help with Scope Month. It wouldn't have happened without them. So those of you at home, we can give them a round of applause. Thank you all in this room for helping out. Okay, so now let's get to some of the more fun stuff. Not that that wasn't fun, because that was also super fun. We're going to give away 7 oscilloscopes today, because no one has found Daniel yet, so we're not going to give away another 1000X until you guys find that cutout. So we're going to give away 2 4000X series scopes and 5 1000X series scopes. And let's see if I can pull up my name. So if you've entered, those of you who are watching live, you have until right now to enter. And then we're officially calling the entries. And I am going to draw 7 winners. The first 2 names are going to be for a 4000X, and the 5 names after that will be for a 1000X series scope. So as that pulls, okay, here we go. It's the big moment you've all been waiting for. And I would encourage you, if you don't hear your name, there's a couple scopes we're going to have to redraw because people were unable to accept for various reasons. So we will do some extra drawings post Scope Month, and we'll maybe post some of those winners on our social channels, so on Twitter and on Facebook. So all is not lost if you didn't win. Okay, I know I'm stalling here. So our winners, the 4000X series scopes, Garen Shuck and Kai Ruski. And our 1000X series scopes, Hunter Wilson, Bogdan Savic, Joseph Chen, Natan Kadem, and of course another name that is not in a alphabet that I can read. So I'm going to pull up translate here again. It seems like live stream, I get all the fun names. To English. Koichi Uosu. So congratulations to our winners. We'll be in touch with you shortly. What else do we have going on? We're going to do some QA at the end of this, so I'll pull up chat. But that's it for Scope Month. Again, thank you to the whole team. Thank you all. You have made this the event that it is, and we are just so happy and so excited that it went as well as it did, and that we just have loved seeing you, and we hope you stick around for the rest of the year. You can still talk to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, let's do some QA. Any Easter eggs in the 1000X series scopes? Yes. I hinted at one of those yesterday, but they're Easter eggs. I can't share them like this. What else? Some people are sad they didn't win. Will there be other contests in the future? This is Scope Month number 2, so we fully expect Scope Month to continue on throughout the rest of the year. What else? Take a look in your dumpsters. You might have some Keysight scopes. Is this the last Scope Month? No. How many scopes? I don't understand the question, but I think it's how many scopes have we given away. I meant to count this morning, but I forgot. It's easily in the upper 120s, so maybe one of you guys can throw it in chat for us. Will Dave keep finding scopes in the dumpster? He seems to have a knack for finding scopes in the dumpster, so hard to say. Test to Impress winners will be announced on or before April 15th on this channel. I want to give the whole panel some time to really consider those entries and make sure we make the decision that we feel is best without having to rush that. So you can tune into this channel to see who wins. We'll also put that on our Facebook and probably on our Twitter page. Where is the limit for analog front end and scopes? It really comes down to our chip technology. So as we progress, and you think about, I guess it's analog. So as we progress in manufacturing capabilities in material sciences, we're going to get faster and faster. We've announced the technology for a 100 gigahertz front end. So that scope, you can tune in the next little while. I don't know what the specific release date is, and I don't want to commit to that. But we have some pretty fast stuff coming out. Please redraw. Fire alarm. Oh, no. Easter eggs, bugs. No, they're not bugs. They're actually Easter eggs. Where are you and your team based? We are based in Colorado Springs, mostly. The official Keysight headquarters is out in Santa Rosa, but the bulk of the Scopes team is here in Colorado Springs. Will Scope Tips be a monthly edition? So we have 2-minute guru videos, and those are going to be more scope tippy. Aaron is also going to have a video series later this year, so you can stick around for that. And we also may see some Infinium stuff and some probe stuff on the YouTube channel, definitely on some of our social channels, and our blog. Was this whole month the April Fool's Day joke? No, that would be super sad. Someone says they used another scope as a mirror. That's funny. A daily scope tip video. That would be fun. I don't think I would make it to do a daily scope tip video. I'd probably wear out. Any other questions for Scope Month? This is your last, it's not your last chance. We'll also be doing some live time on the Keysight, not the Keysight Oscilloscopes, but the Keysight Facebook page with the 1000X in the coming weeks or months. We don't have a hard deadline on that yet, but we'll also be talking about that on our social channels. So if you are watching this in post and you wanted to ask me some questions, you can check out and wait for that live stream that we'll be doing. That'll be more of a casual sit down thing. Someone says 100, oh, that's us. We've given away 140 oscilloscopes. That's an insane amount of oscilloscopes. So congratulations to all of you who have won. Can I take measurements with a DVM and oscilloscope voltage on the same channel? Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So let me find a probe here because I dumped my other one. I'm just going to use a BNC cable because I haven't. Can you hand me one of those probes? So you can use an analog channel and the DVM at once. And I will say this is prototype firmware, so I haven't tested this yet. And if anything does pop up, it of course will be fixed by the time we get to, by the time it gets released to you guys. So one of the things you can do is you can go to the Analyze menu, and since this is a 6000X, there's a lot of other stuff here. But the DVM, thank you, Josh, I appreciate it. The DVM I can turn on, and this is, so you can actually see DC, you can do whatever type of measurements you want, so maybe we'll do an AC RMS measurement. And I can run this, I can play with the scope signals. It is generally based on the vertical scaling, but not the time base. So you can actually use the DVM and go around debugging your analog channels at the same time. The DVM, we actually have a patent on how that operates. It runs kind of on the auto scale type. There's a lot of back-end stuff that goes on. The scope is always monitoring in the background those channels, not like I was going to make a, anyway. So it's always kind of checking the channels that it's plugged in. Hey, is there a signal there? Is there not? And you can actually, our DVM runs kind of off of that. So it's pretty cool technology in that that's included in all of the Infinivision scopes and the 1000X, and I think all of them, you can get that for free. You just have to go register your scope online and you get a license file for download. So that should be free for definitely free for all scopes. You just have to go register. So if you have a scope and you don't have DVM, you can go register and get it for free. Questions? Let's see, what else? Okay. XY measurements. That is something I wanted to cover, and I wanted to do a really cool one with it. Let me see if I don't know if I have a T connector over there for a BNC. I do. I'll be right back. So XY mode is basically an amplitude and phase type thing. So I have this little Cal BNC setup from that user Cal day. Let's see if I can set this up here. Actually, I don't need a T. I can just do channel 1 and channel 2. So it does do XY mode. That's one of the acquisition modes. And since this has 2 function generators on it, I can play with them both at the same time. So to do that, you go into, I believe it's horizontal. In your time mode, you have roll mode, which is going to roll the scope. So that's good for slow signals. Maybe you're doing some PWM testing and you just want to get a visual idea of what that looks like. It also has XY mode. So horizontally, we have channel 1, and I'm going to turn up the intensity. And I'm going to turn off my cursors so you guys can see this better. Let's turn off cursors, turn off measurements. So you can see I have nothing on channel 2 right now, so it's flat. Channel 1 is going up and down. So if I turn on WaveGen 2 and scale that signal, woohoo, you can do some crazy stuff with that. So let me reset each of these WaveGens, and we should be able, yes, and I'm going to turn my intensity down a little bit. So there you go, you have an XY plot, and basically you can see so channel 2 is amplitude vertically, and channel 1 is amplitude horizontally. So you can check phase relationships between 2 signals if you're probing 2 different signals and you want to see how they're doing. As you play with the phase, you can even just, if you want to impress people in the building who don't know anything about scopes, you can pull up some fun waveforms there. I'm not going to go into that now. I'm going to do a 2-minute groove video on that at some point. So stick around on the YouTube channel to see more about XY mode. So good question. That's something I definitely wanted to show off as a scope tip, but ran out. Okay. Oprah, yeah, Scopra is the term I got a lot. Is it legal to dump 32 gigahertz scopes in the garbage? I know nothing about that. Okay. It would be really cool to see a pin of all the winner locations. We'll look into that. I'm getting some excited nods there, so we'll do that maybe during a team meeting or something. I'm going to call it, if you have, this is a good one actually. How is the accuracy of oscilloscopes changed by the change in ambient temperature or electromagnetic radiation in the room? Should I be concerned about using it in a hot lab or near an old NMR machine? 2 different questions. One is temperature. So if you're really concerned about making the most precise measurements and most accurate measurements, you should let your scope warm up for at least 30 minutes before you use it. Because we all know that electrical characteristics of components change with temperature. There's also, you can get your scope cowed to certain temperature ranges. There are listed different temperature ranges you can use. So if you're really concerned about a really hot, like, a heat room type hot lab or a really cold lab, so maybe you're in Antarctica and you want me to come do a scope demo, invite me down there. But maybe you're using a scope down in Antarctica and you're concerned about temperatures, you can get it cowled at different temperatures, and that's really the best way to go about doing it. EMI is probably a whole nother discussion that a rabbit hole I don't want to go down to today, or down into today. Okay. Thank you all for participating in Scope Month. It has been such a blast, and on behalf of the entire Oscilloscopes team, we are calling it for Scope Month. We'll see you in the next coming weeks on our YouTube channel, on Facebook. You can always ask us questions on Instagram. Check out our brand new Twitter account. Aaron's been doing a great job with it, and the whole team is really excited about having that. So check it out, and I will see you later.